Hi everyone, welcome to episode number 4 of Flaneur Talks with your 3 hosts, myself, Aria, Melina and Amber. So, last episode, what did we actually end up talking about, guys?
Yeah, it was the uni one, thanks to our lovely Instagram poll. We asked what you wanted to hear from us, and uni life came first. Next is this episode, which is about travel.
Woo! Yeah, so today, as Melina said, it's going to be about travel. It's going to be quite generic about travel in general, but if you want to hear us be a bit more specific about what we're talking about in terms of travel and where we're talking about, so if you want us to discuss an actual country, I'd say let us know on our Twitter at Flaneur Talks or on our Instagram at Flaneur Talks Podcast. Haha, self-promotion.
Or even the YouTube comment section.
Of course.
Be happy for that as well.
Okay, so travel is quite a broad subject, so we'll try and split it up a little bit. So shall we start with something relatively easy? I'll start off with Amber. So what are, say, our favourite places that either we'd like to visit or we have visited?
So my favourite places that I've been to and are up on the top of the list is obviously Japan. I absolutely love Japan, and South Korea. Those two I visited in 2019 now. That feels like a long time ago. That's been one of my favourite, and I definitely want to go again. Places where I'd like to visit is kind of a tough one, to be honest. I'd like to go to Thailand because I really like Thai food. We go for the food, and as well maybe Australia as well, just to make it a little bit different. It's quite far away. I've heard that it's very sunny, and I'd like to see how it's different compared to like when we have the northern hemisphere where we're in summer compared to them that have the southern hemisphere that have winter. So I'd kind of like to see that and how their Christmas is a little bit different to us.
Yeah, I was about to say, I can't imagine having like a warm Christmas.
Yeah, it's completely weird.
I've got some friends who are like from the southern hemisphere, and they said like for them Christmas is just you like have your Christmas dinner and then you just like sunbathe or something. And that to me just feels like completely weird.
Yeah, compared to us that like have like the winter and it's really cold and we just want to be inside and next to a fire or something like that, or on the off chance that we get snow as well.
Like this year.
Yeah. For once.
God, imagine it being warm in the UK like ever. Sorry, let me specify. Imagine it being a relatively manageable temperature in the UK at any given time.
I know, that would be beautiful.
Okay, Mel, what about you? Places you want to visit and places you have visited that you've really, really liked?
I've been to a couple places that I really liked. I think I always go back to France. I really like it there. I think I prefer the rural areas to Paris, but I do like Paris and I do like the city life. It's weird though because they're not big on franchises, so you can't really find like a Starbucks or a McDonald's there, which I didn't actually realise until after I'd been, and I was like, wait, we didn't have any Starbucks. Like, absolute white girl moment. Because I went traveling with a friend a couple of years ago, and we basically, it was like a bougie version of backpacking, really. We just went to like every Starbucks in Europe. That was our like big thing. But I think, yeah, I did really like Japan. It was absolutely beautiful and a great culture. I think one of the places that I actually really want to go to is Amsterdam. One of the only places in like Western Europe that I've not been to. Obviously, I love Greece. You know, I am Greek. Weirdly enough, though, the only places I've been in Greece is the island that I'm from, Sifnos. Big up. Represent. My little village. And I think I've like stayed in Piraeus, which is sort of the port area. Haven't really been to like Athens or mainland Greece at all. So I would actually like to visit more of Greece and just get to know my culture a bit more. It is one of those places because it's very islandy that there are like community cultures vary from like island to island. And like there are very different foods on different islands just because of like how the produce grows and like the soil and all of that kind of thing. So I'd like to travel around Greece a bit more. Do a bit of that. What about you, Azaria?
My favourite places, huh? So I've been to Japan. Surprise, surprise. 'Cause we've all been to Japan. And that was probably one of my favourite places because it's just so different from the UK. Like, I think the only place I can relatively compare it to, and it's like a reach, is London, simply for how busy it is. Because we went to like the busy areas, so we never really went to like the more rural areas, did we? It's all cities.
I do get what you mean with London. It is like one of those really like modern metropolitan cities. But damn, Azaria, Japan, really? You?
Oh,
I never would have believed that.
I never would have guessed, no. But it's just so different. It's when you step off the plane, the air feels different. Like, everything feels different as soon as you land. Like, everyone's so polite in the UK, like... Well, you'll get your odd polite person, granted, but in Japan I feel like with foreigners they are a little bit more polite because obviously they've never seen you specifically before. From what I experienced, they tend to be a little bit more welcoming and pleasantly surprised when I offered someone my seat on the train, but
I remember the first time I went shopping after we came back from Japan, and I went to buy a bag for uni or something, and I literally, when I was paying, I bowed to the to the person because I was just so used to it after Japan. Like, everywhere you go, you just like, literally KFC, everything, you just like bow whilst you're handing the money over. And like, I did the same and I was like, what am I doing? You look so weird.
They probably looked at you like a bit like, what? Just say thanks and leave.
I mean, I feel like this might just be like the northerner in me, but I think southern England specifically, people, it's not that they're not nice, but strangers in the street, like, they won't help you unless you like go up to them and ask for help. And even then they're kind of like, they feel put out. And I mean, you do get that in the north as well, but you can get some nice people in the north.
I'm biased. I kind of like the south.
I like it, but the people, ooh.
I mean, I've not only been to Japan, I've been to like a couple of other places as well. I've been to Sweden. Absolutely love Sweden. I cannot fault it, apart from this one racial comment that was completely unnecessary, but I'll ignore that. That's for a different episode, that one. But other than that, Sweden's absolutely lovely. The people are absolutely lovely. Everyone speaks English because they learn it as part of their curriculum. It's not, weird to go up to someone and start speaking English and they speak pretty much fluent English back to you. So I really like Sweden because my partner's from Sweden. He speaks Swedish. I'm failing at speaking Swedish. But the food is lovely. The air is so clean. Like, I come back to England and I feel like I've just put like smoke in my nose just deliberately. Like, it just feels so congested. Where else? I've been to Denmark. I've been to a Caribbean island called Grenada. I like Grenada for a different reason than the other two countries, simply because it's like really, really hot. And where my family live, they live up essentially a massive hill. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but a massive hill in a little village. And it's very, very different from Japan because you will, you'll go out into the forest and basically get your own food. You'll pick your own spice, you'll raise your own animals like goats and such, or you'll hunt your own animals. You'll go to a waterfall and you can go to a waterfall if you want, but back in the day you used to go like to a waterfall and bathe there, and it was completely normal. Like, it's just completely different, and I really, really like it for that aspect, I guess.
That reminds me a lot of like where I'm from in Greece. It's not completely the same, but you don't really have imports other than water because you can't drink the water. It's not properly filtered, so you have to get bottled water. And that's one thing that they've like really struggled with it during lockdown, is actually being able to get clean water to the islands. They're doing a lot better now, but at the start it was like a really big worry for a lot of them. It is the real rural life. You grow your own crops, you farm your own food, or like there are local farmers, them. If you want like meat or something, you have to ask them like a few days in advance, like, hey, that pig is looking pretty good.
It's looking juicy.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how it works. Well, mainly it's like goat in Greece, which, I mean, I love it because my parents lied to me about it as a child. They told me it was lamb, and as it turns out, it was goat. And I'm just like, why would you even lie about that? Because it's like, I didn't even know the difference back then.
Did you eat goat?
Yeah, but they told me it was lamb, and I was just like, yeah, this is some great lamb.
Goat?
Yeah, it's great.
Good.
I love
Good.
it.
That's the right answer. I love Amber, have you ever tried goat?
No, I haven't. I'm not very adventurous when it comes to like those kinds of foods.
Like, it sounds really, really weird when you just say, "Hey, have you ever nibbled on a goat?" But when you actually like cook it the right way, it tastes so good.
That just sounds like Jurassic Park.
I don't know how you guys do it, but in Greece we do like, well, basically every animal in lemon sauce. Like, that's just any type of it. There's beef in lemon, there's lamb in lemon, there's goat in lemon, chicken, all of it is in lemon because that's like the main thing in Greece. And olive oil, obviously. And I like, honestly, it's so tender. Oh, I'm making myself hungry now, and I miss Greece as well. I haven't been able to go in a while. Now I'm missing the food, and that's just worse because I can't even get it in England. Like, you guys don't know how to make gyros, and that makes me sad.
I know how to make curried goat though, and that's what we have.
Ooh.
Curried goat is really tender. But you know what, guys out there listening, one day us three will be able to meet and have, you know, kind of like a potluck together, and we'll take a picture, and, you know, we'll try and cook goat and force Amber to eat it. And get her reaction on the YouTube if we do decide to put that on YouTube. Okay, so we've talked about our favourite places and places we want to visit next. I didn't say mine. South Korea. I want to go to South Korea next. Now that we've all said where we all want to go, what was it like for everyone to kind of travel on their own without their parents? Because obviously, you know, some people out there might not be at that stage yet. You might still, you know, need to go on holiday with your parents. You know, your parents will book the tickets, the hotel, if you having one, you know, the flights, everything like that. They might book everything and you've got no clue. So for us, what was it like, the whole finding the cheapest prices for like the best quality kind of thing? How did that go?
Well, for me, I used Airbnb when I was booking for South Korea and Japan just to get the cost down. Because at that time I was obviously a student and working a part-time job for the time being, so I needed to get it as cheap as possible. That wasn't that difficult because obviously Airbnb have an app, and if you go on there, you can filter what you're kind of looking for, and it has reviews on there as well. And I always go for the one that has the most good reviews, because that obviously says something good about it. With flights and everything, I went through a provider, so I did go through Thomas Cook. Sadly, they've gone bust now, but I went through them and got the flights and made sure that I had all the paperwork and that they could give it out to me step by step instead of doing it that way. And then when it came down to obviously leaving the country and going to Japan and South Korea, I'm pretty organised in the way that I am anyway. Because I'm a bit OCD when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I had everything in a little file in sectioned off of like my flight tickets and my Airbnb bookings and my hotel bookings and things like that, and kept it all separate. So then I knew like what I needed on each day, making it a little bit more organised, as it were, to suit my needs compared to, say, what my family would normally do, because obviously that's something that my mum would sort out. So I've kind of picked up that trait from my mum, I'd say. Plus I do get to the airport like 4 hours earlier than I'm supposed to, just so that I'm definitely there on time. I definitely remember when I was going from South Korea to Japan, I think me and my sister got there 6 hours early, and obviously because everything was in Korean and I couldn't speak Korean very well at that time, I didn't know that you could actually go sit where the duty free was. So we were sat outside just waiting for like 3 hours before we could actually like check in, even though we could have checked in 3 hours before. So we were sat there and just chilling in the airport like entrance way for 3 hours. So I would always just, if you're ever in that situation, and just see if you can go up to the desk and see if you can check in first. That's my only problem that I had, was me just not being able to kind of read it because it was kind of all in Korean. There wasn't much English. Other than that, mine was okay. What about you guys? What about you, Melina?
Yeah, I mean, I feel lucky traveling in like the modern era when we have things like apps to translate and things like that, and 4G, so that you can sort of get internet access most places. Yeah, when I was traveling, most of the time, well, I have IBS, so I always get like very anxious when I'm traveling, and I always want to make sure that like up early enough and I know absolutely everything that I'm doing so that I'm, you know, prepared in case I start feeling sick or anything. I don't have like travel sickness or anything, and I think that's because I've been traveling since a very young age. Yeah, I think it's just like the idea of, you know, starting this long journey. I always make sure that, I mean, I always bring like my bag, my suitcase, and then I always bring like a fanny pack, because I keep all of like the good stuff in there, and then it's like literally on me and it can't be like removed from me. I always always keep my passport, even if I'm just going to like the shops or something. I always keep my passport with me whilst I'm traveling, just because I'm like so worried in case something happens. That's always my big thing about traveling, is remember your passport and money, and that's literally, and your phone obviously. Anything else can be replaced if absolutely necessary, but those three things are like what you absolutely need. Whenever I've traveled, I've always tried to plan with whoever I'm traveling with. I love making like a proper in-depth plan about like where we're going each day, what we're doing, and like properly trying to maximize time as much as possible. Like when I was traveling through Europe with my friend, we literally sat down, we said like, right, what are the main attractions that we want to see? What do we want to do? How much time will we need? Because we did interrailing. So that's basically where you go through Europe on the train lines that sort of connect around Europe. So we went from like Paris to Milan, and then Milan to Austria to Vienna, and then Vienna to Prague, and Prague to Berlin. So we had to make sure that like we were on time for the trains, that we had somewhere to stay. We used hostels, but we personally used like private rooms, and again we used online sites like Trivago to work out like how safe everything was, to make sure that like everything had a good review and we weren't just like going to a really dodgy area. And yeah, we always made sure to like check in with family and friends so everyone knew where we were. And my big thing is, if you're traveling with another person, always stick together, because, you know, as much as confident as you might feel, it's still better just to be on the safe side and just to have like another person there. What about you, Aria?
I found it quite interesting actually. Like, I wasn't scared or anything like the first time I travelled without my parents. I found it just interesting, different almost, because it was kind of like every time I went travelling, my parents, at least one parent, would be there kind of taking control of everything. But this time it's like, oh, the world's a very, very big place and I'm such a small person. What happens if something goes wrong? I can't say, Mum, can you fix this for me? Like, I've got to kind of deal with it myself. I feel like I'm an adult now, finally getting this sorted myself. And it's just the process of booking tickets yourself, looking for like the cheapest deals. Well, maybe not the cheapest, but like the best deals, like the ones that are the best value, you know, looking for hotels in specific places, like, you know, with the most interest spots in it. I feel like that is an essential part of starting to travel without your parents, is just the planning. You know, maybe, you know, involving your parents in like a discussion of, oh, would this be okay? Sure. But actually going out without them is probably like the biggest step into what I feel is adulthood. And that sounds very cheesy and cliche, which is to be expected of me because I'm very cheesy and cliche. Like, even before COVID, I didn't really travel on my own. I think the only time I travelled literally on my own without anyone else was when I went to Sweden to see my partner. And that was interesting because it was getting to Sweden that was fine. It's the fact that I almost missed my plane coming back that wasn't fine. So that was a case of, if I get stuck, am I going to have to pay, however much money for another ticket? And I think that's the thing that scares me the most is, what if you get stranded in a place that you're not that familiar with? Say you've got no charge on your phone, nowhere to charge your phone, you've got no money or anything like that, and you can't speak the local language. Say that happens, and then what? So that's probably my biggest fear. It's probably irrational. That's probably one of the things I was worried about when I first started traveling on my own. So I've kind of touched on it already, but obviously, what are your biggest fears when traveling? Mine was kind of specific to traveling alone, but generic travel fears, shall we say?
I'm just trying to think what mine are, but
yeah, I mean, I think with what you said,
Melina,
about,
do you want to go?
Yeah, I can do. Especially to do with what you were saying about if you didn't have your phone and things. It is actually kind of scary how much we rely on technology at the moment to help with travel to different countries. Most of the time people will go abroad and they won't even learn the basics of the language because they can just get by using a translator app or checking Google Maps or something to find places to go. And I think for me, that is a big worry, being stuck somewhere. And I think as well, there are a lot of countries where there are a lot of natural disasters. I went to Bali a few years ago and we got stuck in a major earthquake. That terrified me. It wasn't the actual earthquake that was the problem. It was the idea of being away from the person that I was with, getting separated, and then not having a phone, not knowing the language. Literally, we were stuck on this island and the airport is on the beach and there was a typhoon warning. And we were sitting there what happens if there's a typhoon? Does that mean that we just can't get a flight out of Bali? Are we going to get stuck here? So I was very worried about that, just things that are out of your control. And again, obviously outside factors, crime, that's a big one. I remember when I went to Paris with my mum and my sister, someone stole my mum's purse. And thankfully we were in a shop and they caught the person. But it was that second of looking down to your bag, realizing, literally all the money that you brought for the trip is gone. And then obviously having a panic. But the security guard came up to us. He couldn't speak English and I only speak limited French. And he was saying oh, I think that guy's gone off with your purse. He was asking us the color of the purse and things like that, what's the ID, what's the number, all of that kind of thing, so that he could make sure that he was obviously going back to the right person. But it is scary. As a tourist, you just look so out of place and people can very easily use that against you.
Amber?
The only thing I can think of is running out of money. Just because I am a shopaholic, I will definitely own up to that now. So I like to spend a lot of money and I don't want to get to that point where I've been there for say 5 days and then I've run out of money. So that's the only thing that I fear the most, is making sure that I've put enough money aside to get myself by for the food and everything and the travel compared to what I can spend. Other than that, that's the kind of the only thing that I can think of, is just to make sure that you've definitely saved up enough money to last you however long that you're going on your travelling.
When I went to Japan, I was just spending so much, but I didn't run out of money because I'd saved. I'd actually got a job just before we went to Japan in 2016. Oh, that feels so long ago now. 2016 is when we started university. So if you listen to our previous podcast, you'll know that we're all feeling quite, time is a construct, because we started in 2016 and we're no longer in undergraduate study anymore. So there's that. So, if you had to, just as one final thing for everyone listening at home, in the car, at a birthday party, if you don't really like the person you're with, what is one one tip for all of our listeners for having a great holiday? It doesn't have to be about money. It could just be about the experience. So, just 1 or 2 tips about having a great holiday.
I'd say research the place that you're going to and don't necessarily go to places where you think are most popular. Try and find something unique. Like in Japan, for example, everyone goes to Tokyo and, but why not try Kyoto? Why not try like Osaka, for example, or the more rural areas as well? Because there's so many things out there to see and discover. So try something new.
Yeah, I think for me, something that I probably wouldn't have realised is it's actually a good thing to go travelling with people who maybe don't share the same interests as you, because you get to see things that you never would have thought of before. Anytime that I've been travelling with someone and they've like brought something up that I never would have thought of, at first I probably am a bit apprehensive about it, but when you actually go and like visit these places, it does make a difference, and usually those are the things in the trip where surprisingly it's one of the best things. I also think maybe don't be too upset if you can't do absolutely everything, especially in like really touristy areas. It's not always going to be something you can do. I think it's that kind of acceptance that it's not going to be exactly what you make it, but that doesn't mean that it can't be an amazing trip anyway.
Okie dokie. And I guess my tip would be it's kind of a contrasting one, so bear with me, but it's to essentially take pictures of where you go. Make sure you make those memories that you can look back on, but don't be so engrossed in your phone and don't be so engrossed in your technology that you have with you. Just pay attention to what's around you. Pay attention to the fact that you're not in your usual environment, and you might not get a chance to see it again. So granted, take as many pictures as you want, but don't be too engrossed in it if one thing's not in the right place, or you catch something at not the perfect time. That's fine, that's all part of the experience, but make sure you pay attention to where you physically are. Like when Pokemon Go warns you not to walk into people's back gardens, don't walk into people's back gardens. Just pay attention to your surroundings, and please, for the love of bejeebus, please be careful when you go traveling. Don't just go out and walk into cacti for fun or something dumb like that. So, does anyone else have some closing words for us before we depart?
Stranger danger is a real thing. Be careful. Seriously, I know your parents will probably have had amazing stories about the stranger that they met on their holiday back in the 80s or whatever, but seriously, be very careful of people that you meet abroad. Sometimes they will be absolutely lovely people and they will just be there to help you, but still, that's just the same in any country. In your own country, don't just stranger danger. Come on.
Go out and have fun.
Pretty contrasting, but yeah.
Go out and have fun, but stranger danger. That I think that's like the key message in general. Even though, realistically, if we were to go out, we would all be very, very, very cautious, because I think that's the kind of people we are. So, I want to thank everyone again for having a listen to our 4th episode of Flaneur Talks. Hopefully, it's actually something that's been quite interesting for you, because it's been really fun for us to record as well. And, it's something for you to listen to, get involved in. And, of course, as usual, if there's anything you want us to talk about, or, you haven't liked some content that we've posted, just let us know. And on what socials can they speak to us on?
You've got the YouTube channel, so if you just want to like and subscribe to that and press the bell notification on there, I do answer all the comments as well. So if you want to put anything in the comments section from like last week's episodes and things, I will get back to you on there. And then we've got the Twitter as well, that's Flaneur Talks, and then we've got the Instagram as well, which is Flaneur Talks Podcast as well. And we've got our website as well.
Yeah, so the podcast can be found on the website, the YouTube channel, and also Spotify. You'll find all the links on the website for the specific episode, and we'll also have the links to our social media on there as well.
Excellent. So we have been the Three Musketeers of Flaneur Talks for this week. So thank you guys for listening, and as always, make sure you're staying safe. Wash your hands, you dirty pig. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.